Hi everyone, I'm super excited to present to you the 8th installation in our famous artist series. This one is all about Henri Rousseau. The purpose of this video is just to give you an overview of how I've set up this unit so that when you start it with your kiddos, you can hit the ground running. So let's dive right in. I have organized this unit into 4 distinct sessions, ideally 40 minutes each, but if you need to, you should be able to modify it to work within the constraints of your setting. So the first session has kids trying out an activity called I See, I Think, I Wonder. And it's a really nice activity, in my opinion, especially for little guys, because it really walks them through the concept of really looking at a work of art and trying to kind of inventory what you're looking at and make meaning of what you're looking at. So you're going to present a painting by Henri Rousseau called The Sleeping Gypsy. You may be familiar with this one. It's a cool painting. It's pretty famous. But if you haven't seen it before, take a look before you show it to the kids just to kind of get yourself acquainted with it. But this is the activity that you're going to be walking kids through. Now you can do this digitally, or you can print out a hard copy of it. The hard copy of this is, or a printable version of this is a resource within this unit that's available to you. But the first thing you're gonna kind of direct kids to do is to look at the painting and finish the statement, I see. So this is where you're getting kids to kind of really just list out the factual, observable details in this picture. I see a lion. I see a person. I see a full moon. That kind of thing. I would suggest that you have the kids go through it, and then you'll click forward in the slide show, and you'll see where I provide a list of what I saw when I looked at it, just for a reference to kind of get them sort of comparing, are we on the right track? Are we seeing the same kind of things that she's seeing? The next kind of layer of this activity has them answering the statement, I think. And this part is where they really start to do some critical thinking, because they are trying to make some inferences, which is a nice complex skill. I see a dark sky, so I think that means it must be nighttime. That's the kind of inference I'm talking about. So I see this lion is just calmly standing next to this person, so I think maybe the person isn't scared of this. This is not an attack scene. This is not a ferocious lion. Something is, I think maybe that person is just asleep. They don't look injured. So they're just talking about what they think. And then again, I put some of my own, I think, statements in a slide there for you to kind of review with them and say, okay, well, how do her thinking statements compare to our thinking statements? The last column has them finishing the statement, I wonder. And so with the I wonder statements, this is where they're kind of taking what they see for sure and what they have inferred, what they think is going on here, and kind of coming up with some things that remain unanswered. I wonder if this is a scene from a story, or something from like a fable or folk tale or something, or did this artist just sort of make up this random thing in his imagination? So it's okay. This is just where you're showing kids it's okay to look at a picture and be faced with the reality that you don't have all the answers. You don't know 100% what's going on in this picture. That's not a bad thing. That is part of the wonder and beauty of art. So it's just kind of engaging with it and seeing, I don't know, what do I think is going on here? So it's just a great activity to sort of introduce complex thinking about art as you introduce a work of art by Henri Rousseau. So once you get done with that activity, you are going to transition into the little digital storybook about Henri Rousseau. And it will, of course, expose kids to a ton of artworks by him, and also expose kids to the idea that he was a grown-up when he decided he wanted to be a painter, and he realized very quickly that he was very interested in painting pictures of jungle scenes. Now, this is not a guy who had ever been to the jungle. He had never even been really near a jungle, and so it real quickly gets kids thinking about, well, where did he get his ideas? I mean, this was well before social media and TV, so it introduces the idea that picture books, magazines, botanical gardens, and even taxidermy were places he turned to get images to work with for his artwork. And so you'll kind of walk kids through some pictures of botanical gardens and taxidermy and what are those things, and kind of talk about why he would need to rely on those to make the images in his pictures. And you can even talk to them about, have you ever done that? Have you ever been inspired by something you saw in a book or inspired by something you saw at the zoo? That whole component is just to get them exposed to him, his artwork, and some of the things that influenced his artistic thinking. So you'll close out session 1 with a fun activity where the kids are actually going to be making a jungle scene of their own. They're going to be doing this, you can choose markers, crayons, colored pencils, or you can have the kids choose. But this is in the form of a printable. Now, of course, you could do this with regular paper if printing access is limited for you, but you're basically going to be encouraging them to make a jungle scene. Now, the resources I provide, there's one like this, and it provides like a sample of a piece of grass, leaves, a sun, and a tiger. Or they could choose this one. This is another option. It's a little slightly different grass, a different leaf, a moon, and a monkey. And then the third one is for your kids who really don't need any structure whatsoever, and this just is giving them a big open box and saying, draw a jungle scene. So draw what you know, draw from your imagination, draw what you've seen in Henri Rousseau's artwork. And then, of course, I provide like a little example for you to show kids, just so they can get a sense. When you're talking about just these 4 specific references for your jungle, you really need to think about repeating those images, changing the scale of them, overlapping. Those are the kinds of things that this activity is all about, giving kids a chance to practice the idea of repetition, overlap, changing the scale. But you're going to have kids that struggle with that. You're going to have kids that excel at it, but you're going to have some that struggle. And so I went ahead and made a black and white version of the sample that I put together and turned that into what almost looks like a coloring page. So if you might want to print a couple of these just to have on deck for any of your friends who might really benefit from something a lot more structured. Even this is a pretty complex outline drawing. So you can kind of have them just treat that like a coloring page, just to kind of, you're reinforcing the idea that a jungle is a dense landscape, lots going on in that jungle. So even just to color that in will help them get that idea. So that will wrap up the end of session 1. You can have them show their pictures to a classmate or a partner at the end of session 1. And then when they come back for session 2, that's when they're really going to be working with the studio project. Before they begin the studio project, I do recommend doing one more I think, I wonder activity, and that time I included an example of Rousseau's painting called The Waterfall. And it's just another cool painting that he made, and it's got like some little interesting things going on. And so again, in this one I didn't provide my answers, but really the whole point of that activity is just to kind of help them see that now you've got the skills. Now you can do this on your own. You can say, I see a waterfall. I think 2 people. I think it's daytime here. I think those people might be bathing or something. And I wonder where this waterfall is headed, or, whatever they end up thinking about. That's just a little review of that reflection activity. But then you're going to transition into the studio project, which is all about creating their own jungle scene. This time they're going to be creating a jungle collage using construction paper. So I broke it into 2 sessions. For the session 2, they're going to start by making a tiger face, and I provide real clear step-by-step directions, and I do recommend that you kind of, especially the younger the kids are, take that slide by slide with the kids. First step, they're making the round shape for the head. The next slide, they're making the ears. Then they're making the eyes and the nose, and kind of go through it, chunk it out for them so that you're not asking them to remember an overwhelming sequence of steps to then work on independently, because very likely that's going to be a little overwhelming for them. My biggest piece of advice for this is that you kind of pre-cut a little supply of papers, maybe even put them in a Ziploc bag to have ready for each kid so that they can get started pretty quickly. And then the other recommendation I have for that is make a couple stencils, like pre-cut a couple tiger parts, the round face, the ears, so that for your kids who are who have trouble getting through those steps independently, they've got something they could trace. And if you want to take it one step further, if you really are working with 4-year-olds, maybe consider pre-making a few of the ingredients and really let them focus on the idea of assembling the whole thing, gluing the parts together. You can still let them decide where they're gluing stuff. Each one, even if that's all they're doing, will still have a very unique look. But that's really the bulk of that studio component to session 2. So for session 3, you're going to need that finished tiger head, and you're going to be taking the time to create a background. You start with a big blue piece of paper, and then you are going to use green paper. And in session 3, where you're making the jungle, you're really working on ripping instead of cutting. So it's just a different technique to kind of break that paper up. You're also going to be working with tissue paper in this session, crinkling the tissue paper. You're going to be using glue sticks to glue some stuff down. And the slides in that session will walk you through step by step how to build that jungle. There's still a lot of room for flexibility there, but once again, I recommend that you take it slide by slide with the kids and have them kind of build this collage as a group, kind of building one element on another. If you have some kids who have success with all of it and have the time to add the tiger in, and you can kind of choose, I sort of deconstructed this one, but you can kind of choose, okay, I want this grass to go ahead of him or her, and kind of put her in the jungle there, and then you glue that tiger down. If you get the kids who are done and there's a little extra time, you might want to challenge a few of them to take some of their leftover, they'll have leftover green scraps. Did I mention you should try to aim to have 2 different colors of green paper? At least, if you can find 3 or 4 different colors, or even cardstock with patterns on it, it'd be cool. But take some scraps, direct them to fold their scraps in half, and to cut out, you can make some stencils if you wanted to, or you can have them, challenge them to kind of freestyle it, but they would cut out what looks like half of a leaf shape. You can do it with, you can have them kind of wing it. What kind of shape do you want to make? And the idea is that then when they open it up, they have this real symmetrical looking leaf that could then be glued into their jungle, just to kind of give it a little more of a dynamic look. You can also offer bright colors of construction paper. I added in some kind of purplish color. Same thing. They would fold it in half, and you can even see my black marker line where it kind of drew half a circle, or half of a flower, and then you have them cut it out while it's folded, and then they open it up, and they usually get real excited to see this cool, real simple flower shape. I mean, you can play around with different variations to get like a little bit of a different look, but the idea is you're just kind of gluing those in for fun. That's an add-on. That's for anyone who's has some extra time on their hands while they're waiting for everyone else to catch up. Now, that session will mark the end of the studio project, and when the kids come back for session 4, you are going to do a little digital review where you can customize those slides. It's just kind of real simple review. Who was Henri Rousseau? What do we know about him? What did we make today? Or what did we make in this unit? And then you're going to have an art show. And for the art show, you want to have the kids spread out their artwork either on a table or on the floor, and basically have a group discussion about what happened. What did we come up with? What were the easy parts? What were the fun parts? What were the hard parts? If we could do this over again, what would we do differently? Which ones really stand out from the crowd? Maybe acknowledge someone's really creative thinking or interesting problem solving, that kind of thing. I offer some guided questions to help with that art show dialogue. It's really a critique, but you're kind of guiding them through it. But if you can come up with your own questions that you want to. I encourage you to do that. If you, if you are just kind of open to letting the conversation flow organically, that obviously also is an approach that works. So once you get done with the art show, you can move on to the self-assessment, and this is something that can be printed out and kids can complete, or you can display it on a big screen and kind of walk kids through a conversation about it. It asks kids, or it makes statements, and then they just rate themselves. So number 1, I cut and glued construction paper to create a tiger's face. The second one says, I ripped, crinkled, and glued construction and tissue paper to make a jungle. The third one says, I added my tiger into my jungle. And then the fourth one says, I used my materials carefully and I tried my best on this project. So that one's all about craftsmanship. So they're rating themselves: a smiley face, a plain face, or a sad face. You can have them physically make a smiley face or a sad face or a plain face, or you can do thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. There's lots of different ways you can have them rating each other or rating themselves without printing this out, if printing is a challenge for you. Oh, and then there's a little spot at the bottom to make teacher comments. And so that's just a great little resource to send home with the finished project, so parents can kind of get a sense of what were you working on with this one, what was the objective here, what were you going for. This helps them kind of feel a little bit more clued in on what was happening with this project. So I put in one early finisher suggestion, and that is a book that is all about Henri Rousseau. It's called The Fantastic Jungles of Henri Rousseau, and it covers a lot of the similar same content that the digital storybook that I present to you does, but it includes some fascinating illustrations and some other extra details. So if time permits, or you want to go that route and have kids watch that, that's an awesome resource to be aware of. I should also mention one other thing before I wrap this up, is in session 1, you'll see a slide that references an audio clip from the Modern Museum of Art. And obviously I would love to just build that link in for you, but for copyright reasons, I need to kind of play it safe. And so I put the name of the link, but if you choose to go to that, you can either just choose to go, open up a web browser and type that in to get to the audio clip, or you can create your own hyperlink in that slideshow. And if you need help figuring out how to do that, I'd be happy to help you. You as an educator or parent or helper are entitled to use their links, but it gets a little tricky once I am including it in mine and then selling it. So I just want you to understand why I'm not putting in that hyperlink for you. But that resource is just a fun little 1-minute audio clip of kids talking about that painting from session 1, The Sleeping Gypsy. So it's optional. It's just an add-on to enrich your lesson, but it's a good one, and I think it's worth it. So your call. But that's it. I hope that you are excited about giving this one a try. And if you have any questions, please let me know. If you do follow up and try this with kiddos, I would love to see pictures of them in action, so please share. I'm very open and interested in feedback and all that. So I'm excited to see what you come up with. Okay, enjoy.